that are in the water. Water is also very important in controlling the temperature.
El agua también es muy importante porque controla la temperatura.
In the winter, I'll be adding warm water to my dough. In the summer, I'll be adding sometimes even ice water to my dough.
En el invierno hay que agregarle el agua tibia y en el verano hay que ponerle agua con hielo.
So, they also, most of us just turn on the water at home and it comes from a municipality.
El agua que usamos en la casa, la mayoría de la gente tiene el agua municipal.
And our municipalities put in things into our water because it's required by law.
Y los del municipal ponen cosas en el agua porque es requerido por la ley.
What are some of the things that they put into our water?
¿Cuáles son las cosas que ponen en el agua? Cloro.
Why would they put chlorine into
¿Por qué
our
ponen
water?
cloro en el agua?
Kills parasites. It also kills algae. Algae grows in the pipes.
Porque desinfecta, mata los parásitos y el alga que crece en las pipas.
Why is, okay, so what else do they put in our water?
¿Qué más ponen en el agua?
Chlorine or fluoride.
Fluoruro.
Yeast, and this is what's important. Everything that we talk about in bread, we are talking about how it affects the yeast.
Todo lo que están poniendo en el pan le va a afectar a la levadura.
The yeast can handle chlorine in very small amounts.
La levadura puede nomás manejar el cloro en pocas cantidades.
In large amounts, the chlorine will kill the yeast.
En grandes cantidades el cloro va a matar la levadura.
Chlorine volatilizes or it turns to gas over time.
El cloro se volatiliza o se convierte en gas cuando pasa el tiempo.
Or as it comes into contact with foreign objects like parasites or algae.
O cuando hace contacto con las algas o otras cosas.
So this is a water plant.
Esa es la planta de agua.
And these are a bunch of houses
Y ahí están las casas, todas las demás
that the
casas.
water plant is supplying with water.
Que la planta de agua les da agua.
You could have 100 houses on this street.
Pueden tener 100 casas en esa cuadra.
Maybe 1,000.
A lo mejor 1000.
What is, so the water has to have a certain amount of chlorine in it to meet the government requirement. Where do you think it's most important that they meet that requirement?
Entonces tiene que tener el agua, tiene que tener cloro para ver los requerimientos del gobierno. ¿Dónde es que tiene que tener más cloro?
This one right here. So how much does this house have?
Aquí va a tener mucho y más allá pues ya menos.
So this house has a lot more than this house.
Esta casa tiene más que la de allá.
So you can find out how much chlorine you have. If you're on a municipality like Edinburgh or Far, you can call them and ask them, say, I live at this address, what's the chemicals that you're putting in my water and how much is there?
Pueden hablar a la ciudad y preguntarle cuánto cloro va a tener su agua.
The water is very important to bread.
El agua es bien importante para el pan.
You'll see that Tara controls her temperature. She brings up her temperature a lot just by the water, not by any other ingredient.
Tara controla mucho la temperatura.
I start with my water a little hotter because when I make bread in about an hour and a half. It's a totally different process than he's talking about. So what we're going to be showing you today, he's sharing with you some principles, but what I'm sharing with you today is a faster, quicker way of baking bread, which is really nice for people who are busy. Sorry. my water's a little hotter, and it makes it go faster.
El agua de ella es muy dura, entonces es más rápido para ella hacer pan. Ella le va a enseñar otro método porque él hace de una forma y ella lo hace de diferente forma.
The reason for that is that we want things to move just a little faster, so that way we don't have to sit around and wait forever for our bread.
So do you use tap water or do you
I
buy
do use
water?
tap water because he told me that it's better. I was using distilled water, but because that's what I drink at home is distilled
Ella
water.
usaba la llave porque él le dijo que estaba mejor.
But he said there's some kind of interaction that happens with the minerals in the water and the bread, so I've been using tap water.
Por la interacción que hace
But I
con
don't understand
minerales
that.
con el
He's
pan.
professional.
Y él es el profesional, así que le hace caso.
But he explained that to you, right?
Y ya les explico por qué.
So are you ready to start?
I'm ready to start this.
Ya está lista para empezar
But
ahí.
I actually just have 2 more things I need, but I can measure them out as I go. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with this. Now, what I want to share with you
Vamos a
here,
empezar.
this is the other thing that I use to bake bread.
Esta es la otra cosa que uso para hacer el pan.
A lot of people say that you're not baking real bread unless you're doing it by hand,
Una gente dice que no estás haciendo pan de verdad si no lo estás amasando con tu
but I
propia
promise I'm gonna get my hands in the dough and I have washed my hands.
mano. Pero prometo meter mis manos y luego lavarme.
But the hard work, I'm gonna let a machine do it because this is the you
Pero
know,
el
America
trabajo
and-
duro lo va a hacer la máquina
We do
porque eso es
everything
para
by machine
hombres,
here.
no los panaderos.
Okay, and the nice thing about this is that the reason I like using this also is that this is kind of the main thing that keeps my bread light and fluffy because I'm going to add probably 10 to 20% less flour than what most people use when they make their bread.
Yo voy a usar eso porque cuando usen la máquina lo hacen más esponjadito y usan menos harina si usan la máquina. Y de paso les digo que para los tamales también. Si
It
los
helps
dan
keep
vueltas,
that bread
se
light
hacen
and fluffy.
esponjados.
Give me your
El pan se hace esponjado.
Okay, so I want you to pull out your recipe, the honey whole wheat recipe. Now,
Vale. Vamos a usar la receta de el trigo con la miel.
it calls for honey, but I didn't use honey because I like to actually put honey on my bread. Because when you put honey in your bread and you bake it, you kill a lot of the vitamins and minerals in it. So we're just going to use, this is probably the best sweetener you can find.
Se llama el pan de miel, pero no tiene miel, porque la miel se la pone cuando ya se lo va a comer. Pero lo va a endulzar con esto.
For sweetening, and you really don't use a lot in your bread. You can use honey if you prefer.
Se pueden usar la miel dentro del pan, pero se matan muchas de las vitaminas y minerales, pero lo pueden hacer.
But as soon as you heat honey, it's going to become almost just like this. Let's put it that way.
Entonces, pero si la calientan se va a parecer a esto. Mejor usen eso.
So I like to put a little bit of butter, and then I put like a little drizzle of honey on my bread. And it's really, really good.
Entonces lo que hago es que le pongo mantequilla y miel, pero ya cuando está listo.
So this is dehydrated cane juice. This is just the juice of the cane, dehydrated. It's got the molasses, everything's still in it. So it has all the vitamins, the minerals, everything's still combined there.
Esta es la azúcar de la caña, organic sucanat. Es el azúcar directamente de la caña. Tiene las melazas y todo lo que el azúcar necesita tener.
Okay.
Sucanat.
So you can find that at Sun Harvest.
Lo pueden encontrar en Sun Harvest. En la tienda de Sun Harvest.
Sukana.
And the difference between this and brown sugar is brown sugar
HB también.
is like where they take the molasses out, they make white sugar, and then they just add a little molasses back into it. That's
Entonces
brown
lo
sugar.
que hacen aquí es que le dejan la melaza o le vuelven a poner la melaza de la caña. Cuando compras la otra azúcar, ya le quitaron las melazas que tienen los vitaminas y los minerales.
Okay, are we ready?
¿Están
So the first thing we're gonna do,
No, listos. What? Nobody has did you give them the recipe?
yes, I don't think you got one.
Somebody needs a recipe. ¿Alguien necesita la receta? Levante la mano, por favor. Aquí faltan 3
The honey
recetas.
whole wheat. There's also a rye recipe. I'm not showing you that one today, but it's just to make rye bread if you want to make rye bread.
Sí, también hay un pan de cebada que les dio la receta del pan de
We're
cebada,
following the honey
pero no
whole
lo
wheat
van a
recipe.
hacer hoy, nomás van a hacer la de la miel con los trigos. ¿Ya les dieron la receta? Aquí le falta la receta. They don't have recipe at the front.
Okay, while he's handing this out, we're gonna get started. As you
Vamos a
see,
empezar, como ven,
the ingredients go down is really how we add it in. Okay.
así como están los ingredientes, es como se los vamos a poner.
So we're gonna start with hot water. Now we're making 3 loaves today. This is set up to where you can make 1 through 6 loaves. Does that make sense?
Esto es para que hagan de 1 a 6 barras. Y ahorita vamos a hacer nomás 3. Entonces lo que van a ver va a ser para 3 barras.
Okay. So So you can do 1, 2, 3, and if you do 4 or 5, you just add the 1 or the 2 to it, and then you just kind of add those
Si
together.
quieren
Okay?
hacer más, nomás se van fijando en la receta.
So we're starting with 3 cups of water. You add that in first.
3 tazas de agua primero.
Then we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of, now I'm using extra light olive oil. You can use whatever you'd like. You can use regular olive oil. For me, it just gives a really strong taste. It depends on what kind of bread you're making.
Depende de lo que quieran usar, lo que puedan usar de aceite, pero a ella le gusta usar extra virgen, aceite de oliva.
The other thing you could do if you don't want to use oil, now when you're making 3 loaves of bread, 1/3 cup really isn't much per slice. It's very little actually.
Sí, pueden usar otro tipo o no usar aceite, pero como para tanta agua y todo ese pan es bien poquito el aceite que están utilizando.
So you could actually experiment with using, for oil, you can always actually substitute applesauce in its place.
En lugar de aceite lo pueden sustituir por salsa de manzana.
But I haven't tried that yet. I haven't experimented much with it because I'm still learning, and then I'll probably start venturing out from there. But you
Ella
can
no
do
lo
that.
ha
He does that a lot.
experimentado con la manzana, pero el señor sí lo ha hecho con manzana, ella apenas está aprendiendo.
Okay, the next you can either,
What that means.
1 to 1.
same amount, yeah.
La misma cantidad de aceite, la manzana, si lo van a sustituir, no usen aceite y manzana, es como una cosa o la otra.
And just get the unsweetened kind, just 'cause it's just as good as the other kind. I don't know why
You
there's
love
sugar in it.
bread, right?
Okay.
Sabe igual, dice, nomás un poco más dulce.
Okay, next thing is the honey. Now you can put honey. I'm putting about 1/3. I put a little less, little scant, which is a little less than 1/3 of a cup, okay? So I'm just gonna throw that in.
Después sigue lo del azúcar, o la miel, ¿verdad? Pero ella va a utilizar azúcar y le pone
Okay,
un
now our
poquito
next-
menos de lo que dice ahí.
Our next ingredient is called Vital Wheat Gluten. How many of you guys have ever made gluten meat?
¿Cuántos han hecho
You guys?
el
That's what you
gluten,
make
la
it out of,
carne
right?
del gluten?
That's what this is, okay?
Es esto, el vital,
Use that one.
el trigo
That way.
vital, which one?
That one right there.
Este.
This is what it looks like when you buy it here.
Cuando lo compran se parece aquí, ¿ok? O allá. Where you buy it?
You can buy that any store,
En
grocery
cualquier
store.
tienda de
Some will have it, some won't. You just gotta look around who has it. I bought that here.
Son Harvest o H-E-B. They also sell it.
They sell it in bulk. It's on Harvest also.
Sí, también lo venden suelto, es lo mismo, es lo mismo.
Okay, so now it says 3 teaspoons, but I experimented with 4 because I wanted a little more elasticity with my bread. I was finding that it was kind of tearing on me a little bit, so I'm trying to experiment with a little more of this.
Ahí dice
So
que 3, pero ella le pone 4.
I'm putting 4.
You keep changing. Ok, ella le pone 4 porque le da más elasticidad al pan. De esto. Pues,
3 tablespoons. What it says on it? Did I
son
say
de las
teaspoons?
de cuchara
Sorry.
sopera, no de té, sopera.
Okay, the next ingredient it says on there is what? Dough enhancer.
El siguiente ingrediente
Now
es
this is-
el que...
You're doing a great job.
No,
Isn't she doing a great job?
¿Cómo se dice? No, es el
Masa para
que hace la harina, levanta la harina.
como levadura. No, it's not levadura. No,
Baking
no.
powder.
This is like, it's a mixture of ingredients that has like
It's like an
But
improver.
that's the work of the baking powder.
no. This has like a citric acid in it.
Well, es algo más que tiene ácido cítrico
Like vitamin
y
C.
le va a hacer como vitamina C y va a hacer que el pan esté mejor.
And it's supposed to help with the crumb of the bread, like keeping it for a little bit longer, and just kind of.
Le va a hacer que lo de afuera del pan mantenga mejor el pan.
Okay, this is an optional ingredient. You don't have to. I can't find it around here. I bought this on the internet where I bought all my other stuff.
Ese es
I just went ahead and bought
opcional, no
this.
necesitan ponérselo, el único lugar donde lo pueden encontrar es con el internet, no lo venden en ninguna parte aquí.
So yeah, it's just something that you have to buy online.
Cuestión.
It says dough enhancer, and it simply just says it makes fluffier baked goods, enhances natural flavor, and increases the dough strength and shelf life. That's it. It's not really a preservative. It just has a few ingredients in it that just helps the interaction with the bread and makes it a little lighter.
No es un
So that's important to
preservativo,
you, then you
nomás
want
lo
to get
hace
it, but
un
if it's
poco
not, it's
más
not that big.
suave el pan, pero no y más bonito, ¿verdad?